over 70 years ago. Economist Hayek published his book The Road to Serfdom, in which he warned the world of the dangers of centralization and planned economies. Today we revisit some of his warnings. Is America becoming socialist? And if that's the case, will this be a utopian or a dystopian world? In this video we explore these questions and discuss whether America is becoming a socialist country and what that would mean. Karl Marx was arguably the most influential thinker and economist behind modern socialism and communism. He is most famous for writing the Communist Manifesto, in which he outlines the class struggle and calls for a communist revolution. According to him, capitalism was an inherently flawed and exploitative system in which one class took advantage of another class. Reforming capitalism wasn't possible. Only the complete abandonment of capitalism in favor of a classless communist society could remedy the flaws of capitalism and set the working class free. Socialism can be seen as the precursor of communism. In a socialist society, workers get compensated based on their contribution or labor. In a communist society, workers get compensated based on their needs. Marx and other communist thinkers viewed socialism as a necessary step before a communist society could be realized. In this sense, socialism can be seen as an imperfect or incomplete form of communism. Today, many people use the terms interchangeably. Again, others use the term socialism to describe a gradual, non-violent transition to a more egalitarian and classless society that is based on democracy, and attribute communism to achieving this goal through a violent revolution. While the worry of a violent communist revolution seems small in the United States, some people are concerned that America is becoming a socialist country with the recent controversy surrounding the Great Reset. This concern has been growing. The Great Reset is an idea popularized by Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum. Schwab himself clearly states in his book COVID-19, The Great Reset, that both free market capitalism and state capitalism, such as seen in China, worked for a while but are outdated models. He suggests a new form of capitalism which doesn't just create value for shareholders of profit-producing companies but all stakeholders in society, including the environment, although he doesn't explicitly call for a communist or socialist society. He certainly downplays the risks of technological surveillance and increased government control. Schwab's vision for a more sustainable stakeholder capitalism can be best summarized as a mix between free market capitalism and state capitalism, a sort of middle ground between the two extremes. The truth is that in most countries around the world, free market capitalism doesn't exist anymore. With the rise of welfare states, central banks conducting monetary policy to navigate the economy, and increased government regulation of industries, we have transitioned to a mixed economy. A mixed economy is an economy that is neither completely capitalist nor completely socialist. In this sense, we are already living in an approximation of Schwab's sustainable capitalism. It seems that for him it just must become more sustainable. Or to put it differently, free markets should be reduced in the mix and stakeholder interests, including government control, increased. The escalating need for increased central planning and control can be observed if we look at central banks. It gradually escalates, just like a drug addict who thinks he can take a small dose of a drug. Governments that get a taste of central planning get hooked. Even if they wanted to quit, they become dependent on it to solve problems that were caused by central planning in the first place. The inefficiencies of central planning lead to the need for more control to fix the inefficiencies. This leads to even more distortions. It's a vicious circle. It seems that equality, or sustainability, must come at the price of increased government control, technological surveillance, and even totalitarianism. Striving for utopia often leads to dystopia. This doesn't mean that striving for dystopia leads to utopia. It means that we must carefully examine the economic principles that our society is built on, such as competition, prices, and free markets, and determine how changing these principles will impact our lives. We must look at the intended and unintended consequences. While free market capitalism certainly isn't perfect, it appears to be the lesser evil compared to the alternatives. We must educate ourselves about the economic principles that govern society and how they impact our lives long term. We must be aware that our actions can produce paradoxical results. We can want one thing, but get something entirely different. We can strive for a more egalitarian and sustainable economy, but end up with a 1984-like society. While some people are willing and ready to make this trade-off, a growing number of people aren't.